Okay folks, MBS. Look, I'm doing a repack on bearings as part of a bigger project on my coaster bus, but the video turned out a bit too long, so I've taken the 10 minutes out that we took to repack these bearings and turning it into its own little video. So you may see that me or hear me referring to the coaster bus in the video, so you'll understand what's going on there. Alright, so let's proceed and repack these bearings, and you'll see how it's done using this little bearing repacker and a few things you're going to need to do that. Okay, we've done all the cleaning we're going to do on the drum and hub, all cleaned up, cut, knocked back in, and we're up to the point of cleaning the bearings. Now I'm just using petrol. Okay, not the best thing to use, but if you got degreaser, I wouldn't be using brake clean, too expensive. Just some degreaser solution. Now you're going to have to do these 2 or 3 times to get all the grease out and make it nice and clean. I don't know if I've given this its first clean. You can still see grease in there, so I'm going to give it another shot. And you can use compressed air to blow all the grease out of all the grooves in between the rollers. Yeah, you want it nice and clean so you can put fresh grease in everywhere. And if you don't get all this old grease out, you've contaminated it really with the degreaser or petrol, whatever you're using, and it's not going to be working too well if there's any old grease in there. So it needs to be nice and clean. The second clean, yeah, maybe like I'm going to do, get rid of the grease, and once it is clean, inspect it. Okay, have a really good look over all the rollers, make sure there's no hardening. Most of the time you can just inspect the cup, the matching face of this, and see if there's any hardening missing off the cup surface. If you do find some, then have a look at all your rollers, and then obviously you'll replace your bearings as necessary. Okay, some other products you might need. Brake clean, good for cleaning up old shoes. If you're doing old shoes and they're a little bit oil stained from brake fluid or oil, this will draw out the fluids from the brake shoe, and you'll be able to reuse your brake shoe without having to buy new ones. You're going to need some premium heavy duty grease to do the bearings, and just check that it is suitable for you. It should be disc brake compatible, so you're not wasting this. If you ever do front wheel bearings, you can still use the same grease, and it's heavy duty, so being a truck, we need heavy duty grease. Get yourself one of these guys. A must have. I am not going to be sitting here doing these bearings by hand. They're just too big. In the old days when we were doing just Holden and Falcon wheel bearings, they're only tiny little things. You can sit there and put the grease into the rollers quite easily. With this little sucker, you just put the bearing in like so, put this over the top, and then you just get a grease gun and pump it up with grease. It fills up the inner channel and forces grease down through the rollers and packs it quite nicely. And of course you'll need a grease gun. Yeah, without a grease gun you can't put grease into that, and you'll be then repacking these by hand. Not a pleasant job, I tell you. So that's all the gear you need. I'm going to finish off these now and get them nice and clean. Then we're going to put it in the packer and pack them up, and we'll show you that in a minute, how this little fella works when we've done the bearings. Now I can't stipulate how important this is that you actually get all the old grease out. Okay, as I've said before, it's going to contaminate the new grease and may break down because you've mixed your solvent or whatever you've cleaned the bearing with. And yeah, you could end up with disaster later on. When you're fitting into this little fellow, oh, one thing. When you're blow drying these, do not do this. Hold the bearing like that and put the air gun along the roller and cause it to spin. Okay, sounds like fun, and it works great with smaller bearings. They spin and make this real high-pitched screaming noise, but you will stuff the hardening on the roller by doing that. So yeah, don't do that. Okay, so the bearing sits this way, cone facing like that. As you can see, you've got a taper there. It's going to seal off the bottom of the bearing. If you've never used a packer before, I'll just have to explain it all. And the top one has the reverse taper the same, and it will seal on that cage. So I would gather when we go to do this one, because someone's hit it with a punch, we might get a little bit of grease coming out of there. And all you do is wind that on when you've centrally placed the bearing on there, and you just wind that on, lock it up against the cage, and that is ready for me to put a grease gun on there and pack the living daylights out of this until I can see grease coming out of the bottom of the bearing all the way around. Okay, then I know the internal part of that bearing is greased, and then we finish greasing the outside later. Now it's going to take a fair bit of grease to fill up that inner chamber before it even gets to the rollers, but I'll keep pumping away. I'll shorten the video until the grease starts coming out of the bottom of the bearing. Oh, there it comes, beautiful. And I can see that that's come all the way around, and that's it, and we have a greased bearing. So we should be able to spin this off. Now the guts is absolutely going to be full of grease. That's okay, you can use that to do the rest of it. What we'll do now is remove the bearing, all that grease, and we're going to pull the grease out and wrap it round the bearing like so. Okay, don't be afraid to use plenty of it, make it nice and high, and then make sure there's no gaps of air in there. And you can see here that there's no grease in here, it's just between the rollers, so you want to pack that up with grease as well. Okay, you'll probably want to wear gloves doing this. It gets a little bit messy, hence I've got old crappy shirt on just in case I get it all over myself. Now you need to remove it totally off the inner race. A little bit there won't hurt, but you don't want to flood the inner race with it, and especially this surface here. When we go to put this into the hub, we will clean that up a little bit so that's nice and clean there. And that's it. Now if I had everything set up properly, I'd just drop this straight into the hub after greasing the hub a bit, but we're not up to that stage, so this one doesn't go in the hub first anyway, it's the big one that goes in, so this one goes in last. So we're going to cover this and put it aside and cover it so no crap can get in it. And we've got this crap all over us. Alright, next bearing, we'll leave that alone like that. We drop him in. We want to get rid of the excess grease off our fingers. Okay, messy job, better than packing by hand, let me tell you. Alright, and I will do the same with this bearing. No use showing you that again. And then we'll put this bearing into the hub. Okay, there's the inner bearing, all heavily greased up, so you can barely see the rollers. Okay, you can never put too much on, guys. You can lather it on, make sure it's all coated. It's grease is all inside there. It's all coated on the roller edge there, and then we just drop it in. Okay, now we can use the excess oil to put on that seal, but I'm not going to handle that seal with grease all over my hand the way it is. Right, now we can just rob a little bit of grease out of there, and we'll start filling up the channel on that seal. Now if you don't have enough grease in there to do this, pump a little bit more out of your grease gun, or go back to that little contraption that we use to put in the bearing to grease it and steal some grease out of the inside of that. So when we'll press this on, but before we actually fit the drum onto the axle hub, we will put a bit of grease on the mating surface this goes onto. Get rid of the grease there, and then that will sit in there like so, and I'm going to make a tool to fit that on. A lot of people will grab a punch and try and punch it in there and there and there, but all that happens with that is the seal will just keep kicking. You'll kick it in like that and you'll bend it. You'll get it in here and then you'll tap it harder here to make it go in, and you will distort the seal. It has to go in square. Okay, look guys, I've changed my mind about that tool to drive this seal in. I was thinking, well, you guys aren't going to have what I've got, so what can I use that will do the job? So I went off to Bunnings and I found this little sucker. It's a Holman socket reducer, stormwater, and it reduces it from 100 to 90 mil. Okay, so if you go and get one of them, that might do the job nicely. Now this has got a step in it in there, so you can only bash the seal in so far. So put it in square, put our little, see how nicely that fits on the outside. Then you put a block of wood on top, decent slogger, and make sure you bash it right in the middle. Oh, it does the job. Oh well, actually it's good that I've got a smaller piece now. And that's it, it's home. Look at that. Go out and get one of them. That'll last me a lifetime maybe. It didn't crack or anything. Beautiful.